Hello, Vegfest.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me at the back?
Yeah.
Clear? It's all good?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, I'll hopefully be talking and not just be talking from the slides, but a lot of the information is on the slides as well, so that's, if you want to come a bit closer to read that, that's up to you, but hopefully I'll be able to speak to you and explain the slides. So, has anybody heard of me before? Has anybody seen any of my... Okay, there's a couple. Has anybody seen my website before? No? Has anybody seen any of my videos on YouTube before? Okay, so not very many of you. So basically my name's Berty. I'm a photographer, a speaker, I suppose a filmmaker. I just recently started making films. And then, yeah, so what I've now done is I use my website as an information sort of platform for vegans. So anything that I've learned or anything that I feel is inspirational or needs to be seen, really, I put it on there. So there's like a health section, there's a vegan, inspirational athlete, all sorts. And so, yeah, basically, if anything from today, from this talk, all you take is the fact that you can go to my website. And also, I'm not selling anything on my website, so I'm promoting my website because it's a useful resource, but I don't get any financial gain from anybody going on it, so it's just there, so people can go, oh, what was that video that Bertie was mentioned, or, okay, there was those athletes, but which one, oh, I want to follow up on Pat Reeves, or I want to follow a little bit more about Fiona Rose. And so you can find it all there. Also on my website, this is like a page from it, so this is the vegan section, veganism, so there's recommended, there's athlete profiles, there's videos about inspirational vegans, and a little bit about my beginnings of how I all started, really. But also on there is my contact email, and if you want to ask me any question ever at any point, just be like, Bertie, what was that thing you said, or what's your opinion on this? I'm happy to answer any question. Not every question. If it gets a bit weird, I won't answer it, but anything connected to veganism, I will answer. Okay, so did you guys see the title of the talk and the blurb? So, oh, that's the reason you're here. So, yes, it's a small statement, but it is so powerful. It is, when people choose vegan, you automatically improve the world. And I'm going to extend my introduction a little bit further using these. And so I'm part of a group of volunteers called Earth Cafe. I eat a lot of bananas. People think it's strange, but I enjoy it. And I love eating them, so that's all there is to it. I also eat a lot of pies. I'm not sponsored by Clive's, they just taste really good, so I eat them a lot. If anybody's heard of them, try them out. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm also a photographer, so here's some photography I did last year. And VTV is the labelling that I've given to vegan television. I've created my own vegan television, basically, so if you ever see a video that's got VTV on it, I created it. Okay, so I'll be going over a lot of topics today. Is there anything specifically that you guys want from this talk? Just anything, is there anything you've come to find out or learn about specifically? Okay, well, hopefully I'll fill in everything as well. Basically, my intentions are to make humans question the food that we put into our bodies. Before we eat it, I want people to think about where it's come from, how good it's actually going to be for your body. So it's a little, like, instead of just going to and eating food, you've got to think about what it's going to do to your body and where it's actually come from. And my intentions are to help people go vegetarian and to go vegan. And for me, this will, in turn, will reduce the suffering that we inflict on animals for food and for products. And that reducing that suffering will automatically improve the world. Okay, so what is my core aim of this talk? My core aim is, what we have here is how many animals are slaughtered every year in the UK. So we as a nation are responsible for killing 740 million chickens, 9 million sheep, 8 million pigs, 2 million cattle, and 5,227 farmed game, and 10,500 horses. And they are just numbers, essentially. They're really big numbers. But what they accumulate to is basically every second we kill 24 animals. And it's, for me, that is mental. Like, why would you kill 24 animals every second? It doesn't make, to me, it doesn't make any sense. So basically, why I'm giving these talks is to stop this happening. And so here we have an example of what I'm trying to stop. What we have here is what is a factory farm where a lot of the meat in this country comes from. So what it is a big corrugated shed, and it's concrete on the floor. There's feces everywhere. It's just a horrific conditions for an animal to live in. And when we buy food, when we buy meat products, we are supporting that. So I'm against that totally, and I want it to stop. And here we have the chicken industry that mutilate animals by cutting off their beaks at birth so they don't peck each other. And it's weird, it's really weird what humans do to animals. And I'm here to stop it. And hopefully, with your help, basically I now have the next 40 minutes to persuade you guys. Some of you are probably already doing it, but I want to persuade everybody else to help me stop it happening. So basically, what I've been doing for the last 5.5 years is reading, watching documentaries about where our food comes from, finding out about athletes, finding out about nutrition, and in that reading, what has accumulated is my own message for the world, and my message goes like this. It's time to start asking questions about our habits, our ethics, our traditions, and of our humane civilization. When we realise they need to change, we have to take action. And give me a second, I'm just going to grab a drink. I'm just going to be a bit more specific about this quote. So currently, the British tradition is to have Christmas. And at Christmas, we celebrate that by getting together with our families, buying stuff for them to make them happy, and then we cook a dead, rotting corpse. And then we see that as humans as that's the right thing to do. And it doesn't, to me that doesn't make sense. Eating a rotting corpse is not a fun thing to do. In a country, in the same country that we'll have cats and dogs, we'll stroke them, we'll take them to vets and stuff like that. But because the animal's been, in this incarnation, is a chicken, we will eat its corpse. And so my quote is to question our habit, question the things that we do, question the things that people around us do, question the traditions that have been passed on to us, because when you deconstruct the traditions, they don't really make sense. Okay, so basically today, what I have for you guys is I'm interested personally in nutrition, and I know a little bit here and there, but with the nutrition section of this talk, I leave it to the experts, and Viva are trained professionals in nutrition. So what I have for you guys is a free nutrition booklet, so you guys can top up on the things, top up on what you know about nutrition. And inside there is a little bit like my website is, but this is a printed out recommendation list. So some of the quotes that I'll be using today, some of the books that I'll be talking about, and some of the videos that I'd love you guys to please watch are all on there, and these are for you guys for free as well. Okay, my understanding of veganism is there's three main reasons why people choose to go vegan, and that is the animal welfare, the environmental, and the human health. And personally at the moment, I am about animal welfare, because it doesn't make sense to kill animals for food. But everybody is an individual, so some people will be more environmentally minded, some people will be more human health conscious, but they're all amazing reasons to choose veganism. And when people I have a lot of questions thrown at me at my workplace, and I discuss about food and about the world with a lot of people, and they're always like, what about this one individual nutrient, Bertie? What about this one crop that is more sustainable being meat than plant-based? But basically, whenever there's a discussion about veganism, we need to include all three of these because they're intertwined, they're interconnected. It's not about one issue, it's about improving all of them at the same time. And that's what veganism does. Okay, this is just a little thing to make you guys think about how you eat. So, who in the audience, who brushes their teeth nearly every day to keep it clean? Okay, it's the majority of you guys. Who drinks water to stop themselves getting thirsty? The majority of people. Who chews their food 20 times to help their stomach digest it and make it easier and more assimilable in their body? There's two of us. So basically what that is to, I don't do it every time, but I will try to now I've learnt about it, is to, you know, why do we brush our teeth? We brush our teeth to keep them healthy and strong. Why should we chew our food 20 times? Well, to make it easier for our bodies, like drinking more smoothies or juicing your food is another easy way of doing it. Okay, now it's a little quiz for you guys, so you're not just here listening to me grab along. So basically I've got a bit of a food and body quiz for you guys. So what I will do is I'll read out the question, and then I'll read out all three answers, and then I'll ask you guys to raise your hand when you think it's A, B or C. So the first question is, what are amino acids? Are amino acids hallucinogenic drugs, A, or are they B, large molecules of water, or are they C, the building blocks of protein? So who thinks it's A? Okay, there's one A. Okay. Who thinks it's B? And who thinks it's C? Okay, you guys, yeah. The answer is, unfortunately, it's C. What has more protein content? Is this question 2? Is it A, Sunpat peanut butter? Is it B, co-op tuna and brine? Or is it C, 100 grams of organic carrots? So, who thinks it's A? Okay. Who thinks that it's B? And who thinks that it's C? Okay, the answer is that 100 grams is A. 100 grams of Sunpat peanut butter has more protein content than the others. Question 3. Vitamin C helps aid iron absorption, but which of these contains the most vitamin C? Is it A, kiwi, B, orange, or C, guava? So who thinks that it's A? Okay. Who thinks that it's B, oranges? Okay. And who thinks it's C, guava? Okay. The answer is C. Guava has more vitamin C than the other two. It actually goes, if I remember correctly, it goes guava, kiwi, orange. So, you know, there's this big focus on orange and vitamin C, but actually it's not, it hasn't got more vitamin C than those other two. Okay, so the term hearsay is not that old band that were around about 5 or 6 years ago. The actual definition of hearsay means information which cannot be adequately substantiated, and it means a rumour. And the reason I bring up this this word is because when I was growing up, there was these myths going around about protein, and like, okay, we gotta eat meat because you gotta get your protein. That's the only way to get it. And then these myths stick in our heads. You know, calcium, you could only get it from milk, and it's like, it's weird because, you know, I haven't drank any milk for like 2.5 years, so, you know, I'm not crippled, or like my legs, you know, my calcium is fine, or any nutrient. It's kind of like, we have to, when people mention things about nutrition, we have to reassess what they're saying and where it's come from. You know, when we were kids, where did we get our information from? It's from the people we knew, or like ideas that were bounding around. It's like, it's not actually attached to truth. Okay, so I was mentioning about protein, and protein is one of those crazy ones that everyone brings up, but No one says, where do those elephants, the strongest animals on the planet who can lift the largest weight, where do they get their protein from? Do they get it from meat or do they get it from plants? And there's gorillas, there's massive gorillas, there's silverbacks, there's large animals, where do they get their protein from? Again, they get it from plants, so it's kind of ridiculous. And also on that recommended list, there's a load of science about that explain about proteins and amino acids a lot better than I can about how much more of a myth it is. And also the fact is that human protein deficiencies are extremely rare in the UK. It's one of those really rare things that doesn't really happen. And hearsay again, inadvertently when you choose to eat a plant-based diet, a vegan diet, people will they'll pick up on different deficiencies, but there is no vegan-only deficiency. So if anybody says, what about your B12? You say, where'd you get yours from? What about your vitamin C? What about your iron? What about your iron? What about your vitamin C? It's a two-way street. It's not these vegans, these malnourished vegans. There's malnourished humans. It's not only vegans. And another thing that is connected to nutrition is, has anybody heard of the China study? Yeah, so there's a couple of people, but I highly recommend the China study and the documentary Forks Over Knives. The title is The Most Comprehensive Study of Nutrition Ever Conducted, and what they promote is a whole foods plant-based diet. They use, and they say to use, a plant-based vegan diet to prevent, and in some cases cure, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, prostate cancer, breast cancer, osteoporosis. And so to me, a vegan diet just makes total sense. Okay, so a little bit about what we have here is sort of the timeline or the sort of steps that I personally took to get here today. So 5.5 years ago, I used to be a meat eater, the average meat eater, and my outlook was, at the time was I can't really be bothered to be a vegetarian, it takes too much effort. And thinking about it now, too much effort, what? To go in another aisle of the supermarket to take something out of my meal or to use a different, it's not too much effort at all. And then like, I was more interested in football and photography and women and chasing beers and chasing women as well than I was about the nutrition that was going into my body. And I used to ask the questions, where would I get my protein from? Or, vegans and vegetarians, they don't get any calcium. And, let me go back a sec. So basically I was a meat eater, and then a eureka moment came when I got sold this book. Give me a sec. Has anybody heard of The Higher Taste, the gourmet guide to vegetarian cooking and a karma-free diet? Yeah? Okay, so there's a couple of people who know what this book's about. And basically I got, and that book, I'm giving that away for free to anybody who wants it. Last year I gave away 10, but this year I've only bought one. But excuse me. If anybody wants that book, it's amazing and extremely insightful. And basically in 2008, which is about 5 years ago, somebody sold me that book. And that book opened my eyes to the world that we live in. I'll be talking about how and why. So I got given that book, and I was like, the ideas of becoming vegetarian were in my head. But I was like, so there was a quote in there about slaughterhouses, and I was like, whoa, they're dark, weird, and horrible places, aren't they? Let's be honest. I sat there one day and I was like, a slaughterhouse, a house where you kill animals all day. People are stabbing and draining the blood of animals all day. That's really weird. I don't want to be a part of that. But let me just borrow this chair a second. So there I was, sitting there thinking, okay, logically, I don't agree with a slaughterhouse, but I started, this isn't my term, but I was an excusitarian. So what an excusitarian is that, okay, I totally agree that we shouldn't harm animals, but I love cheese too much, or I can't be bothered. It's not a reason, it's an excuse, and we need to ask our friends and ask our family if you are an excusitarian. If you totally agree that we shouldn't eat animals, then you need to take action upon that and change that instead of making up excuses. And yeah, so I got over my excuses. I was like, do you know what? I've seen some horrific films, and after watching them, you can't eat. Well, I couldn't eat animals again. I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to be a part of that. So I went vegetarian, and gradually I went to vegan because it was the next evolutionary kind of step. And what happened was, so it was about logic. It was about what made sense to me, and what was great about it as well is that I had all these like physical and mental benefits. So I started getting more energy. I've got even more energy since I went vegan. But before, I was quite a lethargic person, and now I have more energy to do things. Before, I had like mild insomnia, and that's completely gone. I lost fat from my body, and I've been vegetarian for 5.5 years, and I haven't changed weight. So basically, what's happened is that the fat that was there has turned into muscle. I sweat less. It's really strange. It's really nice actually that I do sweat less, because when I was younger, I used to sweat so much that I'd have to wear 2 t-shirts to cover it up. So then I'd get embarrassed about how much I sweated, and then it would sort of be like this vicious cycle. And now I can wear a vest out and there's no sweat. You know what I mean? And that's because of what I eat. I've also had an improved sense of taste and smell. So basically, I can now taste food. I feel that when I was eating animal products, what's happening is my taste buds were being dumbed down by all the crap that I'll be talking about in a minute that's in animal products. And so now all I need to do now is to have one simple fruit or one simple herb, and it's great the taste, the vast improvement of how food actually tastes now instead of like it being covered up before. Okay, so basically back to this book. I'm just going to grab a drink. So this book was it was amazing really, and it's really cheap. It actually costs £1.79 on the internet, so basically I recommend everybody, next time you buy a drink at the pub, think, why don't I just buy that book? I've got enough money for this pint, but I could just buy a book, and the pint's going to last for about 20 minutes, whereas this book's going to last forever. And so basically, in this book, there's some powerful quotes that I'll be talking about later. And as I mentioned, the thing about the slaughterhouses, it was that introduction to the term factory farming, which I hadn't really considered before. I just sort of thought about farms as, you know, these happy animals, they have their lives, and then we as humans eat them. But actually, they're like a business, they're like vast businesses where it's basically about profit and not about the welfare of animals. So they're horrible places. And it was the introduction to the term cannibal cows. So basically where BSE partly came from is where humans were grinding up cows and feeding to other cows. And then the humans were eating those dodgy cows, and then the humans were dying. And it's really weird that people were still eating meat now. And then there was the introduction to the carcinogens that were in meat, the vast questions about, actually, are humans closer to herbivores than we are to omnivores? The environmental damage, and back to the basics about the crop yield. So we're talking about that later. As you want quickly, I'll just say that crop yield, instead of fattening up animals with feed, we can just feed humans first instead, and animals take up a lot more land. Okay, so some of these quotes that started me off go like this. This one comes from Linda McCartney, and she said that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be vegetarian. We feel better about ourselves and better about the animals, and we're not contributing to their pain. Has anybody seen a documentary about slaughterhouses? Can you raise your hand if you've seen a documentary about slaughterhouses? Okay. Basically, I reckon that every single human being that eats meat should see a documentary about where meat comes from. And if you feel that it's too horrible to watch, then you shouldn't eat meat. If you can't watch it the whole way through, you shouldn't eat meat. Extended from that, if you can't watch every single ever created slaughterhouse video about where meat comes from, you shouldn't eat it. Because, like this great speaker Gary Yoffsky says, if it's good enough for your mouth, why isn't it not good enough for your... Sorry. Yeah, if it's not good enough for your eyes, why is it not good enough... wait there.
You know what you mean.
Third try, third time lucky. If it's good enough for your mouth, why is it not good enough for your eyes? Okay. So some more inspiring things to put your way. Has anybody seen the documentary Making the Connection by the Vegan Society? Again, another document. This is a documentary that I think everybody should see. So what is in there is It's a documentary about vegans from all walks of life. So we have a new mother, we have a nutritionist, an MP. The MP is actually talking here. An athlete, Fiona Rhodes. We have chefs, we have students, we have farmers, researchers, poets, and they're all explaining how and why everyone should be vegan. They also talk about vegan organics, so moving away from using animal... give me a sec. So instead of using animal dung for growing plants, you just use vegan organics, basically. And yeah, this documentary shows the realities of where meat comes from as well. So this is something that isn't talked about enough, and basically I'm here to enlighten you guys about what's in animal products. And basically, in the animal products, there are diseases that the animals have. There's steroids, there's hormones like adrenaline and casomorphins. And casomorphins are what is in milk. The mother cow, the female cow produces it for the newborn calf, and also in milk. The posh word which the science board uses is somatic cell count, and what that somatic cell count is the blood and pus, but they use that posh word so that we don't go, whoa, now there's some blood and pus in my milk, I'm not going to drink that. And so what happens is, in a lot of farms, is that antibiotics will be injected into the cows, they'll get general diseases, and if they haven't grown organic feed, then the feed will have antibiotics and pesticides in it as well. And then what happens with that is it ends up in our supermarkets, and when I go to a supermarket now, I see the veg aisle, I see the dry foods aisle, and I call this aisle the morgue aisle, because what it is it's rotting corpses. Unfortunately, it's a hard pill to swallow, but that is the morgue aisle. If you ever go to a supermarket again, you'll be like, I'm avoiding that one. But yeah, so basically, and also, I was talking about the diseases and the antibiotics, but when you flick over, I've got a funny story to go with this one. When you turn over meat products, it doesn't say how many diseases the animal has, it doesn't say how many steroids are in there, it doesn't say how many antibiotics are in the meat, and that's because they don't want you to find out. They won't put it on there because they don't want you to find out. And the funny story, it's not funny, it's really weird, is that because I'm inquisitive and I ask a lot of questions, I went into the morgue aisle with my trolley of fruit and veg, lots, a bit of pineapple, a bit of bananas, as you do, and then I went over and had a look at the chickens, and I'm interested in the labels because they don't tell you what's really in the food, and then the labels were on the back, so you had to pull off the sticky bit. So I asked one of the people who worked in this supermarket, that'll be unnamed for today, and I said, "Oh, can I see what ingredients are in there? If there's any antibiotics or any stabilisers?" And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then what had happened is the company had put the ingredients on the sticky label in between two stickers, so you had to like pull it like you know, one of those stickers you can't get off, and so you rip it, and so you can't find out what's in your product unless you ring up the helpline, which I got. You know, as an inquisitive shopper, you know, I'm always buying meat, big meaty. But you're entitled to ask questions. You're entitled to find out what's in the products they're selling. And if they're hiding it from you, why are they hiding it? It means they're lying to you. And it means there's something in there they don't want you to find out about. And it's probably going to be something that's going to be bad for your health. So just don't eat it. What I'm suggesting is people spend more time in these aisles or their local whole food supermarkets, local organic growers, and pick up a vegetable that you haven't really picked up before. Let's say bad boy broccoli. I'm calling it bad boy to give it this good name, but basically you pick up a broccoli and you go, what can I do with this? Can I juice it? Can I put it in this curry? And you sort of, you know, you go, oh, okay, I've tried something different. Or pick up a red cabbage. Can I turn this into a salad? How does this, what if I make a little patty out of this? And start exploring the other foods that are in those places. And then get more involved, like I said earlier, with the bananas or the pineapples and or the mangoes. I mean, I'm quite a mango addict. I'm happy to put up my hand and say I'm an MA mango addict. But that's because they taste so good. So what this next slide says, it says eat more naked food, and it says eat slower. That shouldn't be confused with eat food naked, because I've heard that gets a bit sticky. What I'm promoting is that people take a bit more time with their food. Like I talked about the chewing, but take more time with the food you eat, and also just eat that single food on its own, and enjoy the different flavours that come with it. So when you eat an apple, don't eat an apple with this and with that and with that. Just eat the apple and just take a bit more time. And eat, as you're eating it slower, just go, oh, there's an intricate flavour in there I've never tasted before. Instead of like, we live in this culture where we go to a fast food restaurant and we go, oh, let's see how fast we can eat this, that was good, on to the next pub, on to this, oh, we're going to go play pub golf later, oh, let's go eat this food, eat this pizza, blah, blah, blah. We need to slow down and just eat this food and go, oh, whoa. What's a jackfruit? Oh my god, that is amazing. A cross between a lychee and a mango. Whoa, that is an amazing sensation. So I'm suggesting that we eat food a lot slower. And so with this talk, I don't just say stuff, I actually do it as well. So what I did is I ate half a pineapple, and I ate it really slowly. There was just me, there was no TV, there was no internet, there was no phone. It was just me enjoying and just like feeling and being more sensitive to the flavours and the flavours that are going on in that single fruit. Okay, so I'll jump to another subject, but they're all intertwined. And the term sustainable is bounded about. People say this is sustainable paper, blah 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 blah. The actual definition of sustainable, it means able to be sustained, and it means conserving an ecological balance by avoiding depletion of natural resources. And basically, the eating animals is not sustainable. And basically, the UN did their most recent. Give me a second. So the UN did a study recently, a survey about global greenhouse gases. And what they said is of global human-caused greenhouse releases, the livestock sector accounts for 14.5%. And what that means is they add up to 7.1 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent per capita. And what I'm suggesting is that we as humans, if we want to reduce our carbon footprint, take out animal products. What 7.1 gigatons equates to per year is 7.1 billion. I think it's billion. A gigaton is a billion tons of CO2, and that is something we don't need. We don't need meat. We don't need animal products. Human beings don't need it. So basically what I'm suggesting, so here's a little pie chart, so that 14% could just be a bounded number. So that's all of the global greenhouse gases, and that's what the animal sector creates. So what I'm suggesting, what is there is a very childlike picture of a lentil and cranberry pie. So let's go from this pie chart with the meat in it to a lentil and cranberry pie. Has anybody tried a lentil and cranberry pie before? Okay, there's one person, but for everyone else, do try a lentil and cranberry pie. Not just lentil and cranberry. Why not try Clive's lentil and olive pie? And also Clive's they have curry in a pie, they have all these, and also out there is going to be a lot of other tasty pies, a lot of other options, so that we can take out that 14.5% and lower our carbon footprint. And it's not even that hard, you just go into a different aisle in the supermarket and choose vegetables and fruit instead of animal products, and you automatically lower your carbon footprint. And so, a little bit more in depth about that carbon footprint is 14.5%, because cows burp out methane and they fart out CO2, and their dung has to go everywhere as well. So methane is actually off the top of my head, I think it's 4 times stronger than carbon dioxide, so it's not good for our planet. Has anybody heard of Be the Truth, the documentary? Okay, so basically, I'm not very good at articulating these things, but Me the Truth is a great documentary that goes in depth about how damaging eating animals is to our planet. Okay, so basically, like I mentioned earlier, I started making those vegan film. I started VTV and making films about veganism. And so what we have here is inspirational vegan athletes, and here we have Laura Klein, who is an American athlete. We have Fiona Oakes, who was going to be speaking up. Has anybody heard of Fiona Oakes? Yeah. Do you know she's not speaking today? Yeah. So basically, Fiona Oakes is an inspirational vegan athlete, and unfortunately she's not going to be speaking after me. But basically, she's an amazing woman and a great speaker, and she does a lot. I'll be talking about her in a sec. But along with her, we have Scott Jurek and Rich Roll, and these are athletes who are at the top of their game. So, here she is. So here's Fiona Oakes, and basically, she is a marathon runner. She runs an animal sanctuary for over 400 animals, and she's also an on-call. She's an on-call firefighter, so she doesn't do one thing, she does all these different things. And what she does is she runs her marathons with her vegan message, taking her vegan message, and she calls it the cruelty-free message, to actually, what she did, which is amazing, is that she ran a marathon on every continent on the planet, including the North and South Pole. And what she did is that became a world record, and also the fact that she achieved it in 225 days was also another world record. There was a speaker before me who was Pat Reeves, and she's also another world record holder. In March, she deadlifted 95 kilograms, and she's also achieved divisional, Commonwealth and Masters records for powerlifting. Has anybody heard of Patrick Baboumian? Yeah? Basically, Patrick Baboumian is a vegan strongman, and in 2011 he was Germany's strongest man, and in 2013 he broke a world record by lifting a weight of 555.2 kilograms over 10 meters. And this next couple ran 366 consecutive marathons, one a day for 366 days, and they were also powered by raw fruits and vegetables. And they are Jeanette Murray, Wakelin, and Alan Murray, and they're actually both in their 60s as well. Okay, so basically, part of this talk is about giving you guys this information and trying to give you guys the energy to promote veganism and network with the people you already know. So basically, I put up that sign, the poster, and what Earth Cafe is a monthly voluntary-led evening of, it's a vegan buffet, there's talks, there's live music. And so basically it's a place where like-minded people can go to share the food that they enjoy and talk about things that are important. So what we call it is a place for networking on local issues, human and animal rights and the environment. And basically, like I said before about my contact, if anybody wants to set up their own Earth Cafe wherever you are in the world, I'm happy to help you with the designs of your leaflets. If you want to create something else like this, I'm happy to do that. If you want to use the Earth Cafe name, we're happy for you to do that, as long as it's not in Plymouth where we live, because that would be a bit rubbish and steal our customers. But back, like, in all seriousness, if you want to set one of these things up yourself, we can help you out by giving you the information you need. And also, has anybody heard of Viva? Yeah. So basically, Viva are Bristol's an animal-based charity in Bristol, and they've been saving animals or campaigning for animal rights for 20 years, and for me that's pretty amazing. And basically, at their office, if anybody wants to volunteer some of their time to help stop people killing animals, they will take volunteers on board. They also have a great YouTube channel called Viva UK, and it has great undercover footage and other talks. And the undercover footage really shows where our food comes from. So like the brand Happy Eggs, where happy chickens live, is basically a load of bullshit. What they do is it's a marketing word, because there's actual footage of inside Happy Eggs factories, and they're like malnourished, they're dying, they're living in these crap conditions. And so, but in the supermarket it says happy, so we're lied to, and it's wrong. But basically, also with Viva, what they can do, if you're into handing out leaflets and advertising and promoting what is right, they will give you free packs to give out. And basically, so what I did yesterday, I used some of my spare time I volunteer at Viva, but also I use my time to leaflet. And it's really amazing when you hand out a leaflet and you go, I was like, there's a Vegfest leaflet. Oh, Vegfest, I'll be there tomorrow. And it's amazing what you can do with a leaflet. It's, I got turned into somebody who's a speaker. I'm not really a speaker, but I got turned into a speaker because I've read that quote about slaughterhouses. It made me think. So if you hand out a leaflet that says, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone will be vegetarian, then we can all wake people up gradually. And so I talked a little bit about YouTube, and what I've created is, my channel is called The Waking Up Process. And what the waking up process is the waking up process for me was when I realised that there's no nutrient that humans can't get from Whoa, slow down there. There is no nutrient that humans can't get from plants. And for me, using or killing animals to me is cruel, weird and unnecessary, so I'm going to do everything in my power to stop that happening. So what I did is I created the YouTube channel, so I've put my own talks up there and other films that are connected to the waking up process. And as I said, I've created VTV, so there'll be a little logo at the bottom to say that they come from my channel. And that's why I do it, is to wake people up. And I'll be talking about the great stories that I've heard thus far. So here's me enjoying a festival. Can you guys see that? So here's me at the. This actually came from the BBC. This is a freeze frame from the BBC, and I was on the highlights. I was on the highlights of Glastonbury Festival, and I think that the guy that was recording me was vegetarian or vegan, because my T-shirt said, "Please don't stick a fork in my ass," and then the pig says, "Or mine." So basically, that T-shirt was broadcast and was on the highlights of. Why I did it, why I was there promoting that, is to get the message out. If you want to get a message out, wear a T-shirt. If you want to get a message, hand out leaflets. If you want to get a message out, give these talks. And also, what I also did is, like that sign, I created another sign, which is very cheap to do. You just use an old bed sheet and get some paint. And it says "Choose Vegan" in big letters. So what this was the main stretch of the festival. And when you put up a sign, it was really nice. I was handing out leaflets, as you do, waking people up. And then my mates came along, and I bumped into my mates, and we were enjoying the sun, and we went out for some food. And then, but what that did is that meant that thousands of people saw that message. Thousands of people are thinking about it. You know what I mean? It's getting a message out, and everybody can do it as well. Okay, so from today, what are practical steps that you guys can take? And I fully recommend that everybody reads this book. And I don't 100% agree with this book because it's a bit about religion, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff in there. So I wouldn't take it as law. It's not law, but there's some great stuff in there. And little things like maybe just try meat-free Mondays, or being vegetarian for a month. Do the vegan challenge for a month. Donate your time or money that you have to charities like Viva and all the other amazing ones that are here. And watch Making a Connection. Watch the documentary, I say, Meet the Truth. Has anyone heard of Gary Yoski? No, you need to. Okay, so everybody needs to check out who Gary Yoski is. He does a speech called The Best Speech Ever, and I highly recommend it. And so from today, get informed, guys. There's a lot of links on my website about all sorts of different things. So go to bertyjustice.co.uk/veganism. Viva.org.uk are full of great information. Get connected, befriend more of your veggie friends, and the Vegan Society have all sorts of amazing information. Team BGN, who are here, are a social network for vegan teens, and another social network site is ble.at, which is a fully vegan Facebook. There's also Viva membership that you can get up to date. You get a quarterly magazine and free information about their latest campaigns. And get involved. Please use the skills that you have. Recently, I never thought it, but I started writing poetry. I know it's a bit out there, but basically, the reason I mention it is because I've started writing vegan poetry. And why I mention that is because everybody has a skill that they can use to promote vegan and vegetarianism. Whether it is the simple skill of handing out a leaflet or dropping it through a door, whether it's writing some music that is about veganism, whether it's going to volunteer at your local vegan restaurant, whether it's volunteering at a place like Vegfest, think about the skills you have and think about how you can use them to promote veganism. And so what this section is the positive symbols to look for. So Bauer is the British Union for the Abolition of Vivisection, and I think they might have a stall here, but if they don't, what Bauer is when you buy a product, if you flip it over, if it's got that rabbit on the back, it means that it hasn't been tested on animals to make it to the shelf. And it doesn't make sense. Testing things on animals is really weird and horrible and needs to be abolished, hence Bauer. And the other thing is Lush products, 80% vegan. Vans canvas shoes are vegan. Co-op toiletries are vegan. And okay, so this next section is called Revelations. And basically, the reason I give these talks is because I want to share information with people, but it's also because of the amazing stories that people have said to me along the way. And the first revelation comes from a woman at my first talk, and she said to me, Bertie, there is no reason why I haven't stopped drinking milk, I just have to do it. And one of my friends came to Vegfest a couple of years ago and they said, since seeing that stall about the dairy industry, I don't want to eat anything dairy anymore. We've already planned what we're going to take out of our fridge. And I spoke to a friend about his previous experience with veganism. He said, I went vegan, I've never felt better. And another one of my friends said, since going to your talk, I tried being vegan for a month and I feel better. It also helped me realise my stomach doesn't like dairy, so now I'm not going to eat it. And somebody else said, I had eczema all throughout my childhood and teen years, and then I turned vegan and it immediately went down. Then after a year it was completely gone. And then somebody else said, before I turned vegan, I suffered from asthma and depression among other things for years, and taking all sorts of pills to fix it all. The pills came with worse side effects too. I was told I would be on them for life. Now I take no pills, my problems have all gone, and all because I eat a plant-based diet. That last guy is my friend John, and he posted this picture today, in fact, of how he used to be, and he used to eat the standard American diet, SAD, sad meaning having two meanings, and he used to have these massive clothes, and what's happened now, he eats raw foods because that works for him, and he's lost a lot of weight along with all those other ailments that I just mentioned. So what we have there is people using veganism as a healing food. So they got rid of eczema, asthma, depression, cancer, and another one of my friends had symptoms of MS, multiple sclerosis. She's actually talking as we speak. And this was interesting. I went to one of my friend's house and they were vegetarian. And I was like, we got talking about where they started. And she got glandular fever and the doctor recommends not eating meat. She never has since. So do you know what I mean? It's like even doctors are promoting not eating meat. Okay, so what I'd like you guys, with all those other different information that I just said, what I would like you guys to do from now on is on the first day of every month, I want you guys to just take 1 minute to go to ask yourself these two questions. Does consuming animal products cause unnecessary suffering? And can I promote vegetarianism and veganism more? And so I'll bring it back to the three main reasons why people choose veganism, and that is the animal welfare, the environment, and the human health. And I will say my quote again. My quote is, it's time to start asking questions about our habits, our ethics, our traditions, and our humane civilisation. When we realise they need to change, we have to take action. And that is the end of the talk. Does anybody have any questions?
How would you go about doing all the promoting about being the typical sort of evangelical Jesus thing?
Say that again.
How do you go about promoting veganism and encouraging others? How about being
Without being sort of like
evangelical?
you must do it, you must do it.
Yeah, that people get defensive.
Okay, so instead of being an aggressive, you must be vegan or else, that's the only way, how do I do it? I suppose I do, everybody who eats vegan and vegetarian does it inadvertently. The people around you will automatically, well, I'm only saying from my experience, from my workmates and my family and friends, notice what I eat, and then they ask questions, and I answer them as much as I can. But I also, if somebody starts asking too many questions, or at other times, if they ask a question, I will ask a question back. There is. So what was the original question? Is like, how do you go about it without being like evangelical or aggressive?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, some of my friends are in the audience. I could ask them. Do I ever come across like aggressive with it?
I think there's a fine line, isn't there? There's a fine line between if you're too aggressive and too like you have to make somebody do it, and then you push them away. There's a way of sort of explaining it and saying, well, it works for me, it can work for you. So I think that there's a fine line though, because everyone's different. So you need to judge the person you're speaking to, I guess.
Totally. Yeah, totally. It's like you can sometimes tell what question somebody by the question they're asking, whether they're interested or they want an argument. Do you know what I mean? And so if they're inquisitive, they're like, oh, I didn't know about this thing. Could you explain it? Or, oh, that recipe sounds good. Could you help me out? Or you're a militant, rah rah rah. You're like all the others. All vegans are the same. If they're coming from that angle, then you know what you're. It ultimately comes down to your own approach. Some days I'll ignore people. Other days I will ask them straight. If you're not, I will ask them straight because it's necessary. It needs to be said. I will say to them, when your kids grow up, are you going to take them to an orchard or are you going to take them to a slaughterhouse? If you're not going to take them to a slaughterhouse, why not? Do you know what I mean? And I think those questions are that it may become a bit. People may think that I'm militant, but I think those are necessary questions because you actually get to the core of where people are at and make them question what they're doing and what they've been told. The gentleman asked, does it make sense to eat the vegetarian meats? I found it helped. I was quite addicted to meat and dairy products and stuff like that. So for me, transitioning food to start off with, I liked convenience as well. So I still went for burgers and I still went for sausages and stuff like that. And I think they're good. They're what you're familiar with. They're easy to get hold of. Long term, I wouldn't promote that. I would say go to more raw foods and that kind of thing. But again, I'm not an expert on that either. But I can only say from my experience that the mock meats, the mock cheeses were helpful and convenient. And I was listening to my taste buds at the time, and it worked. I don't eat a lot of it now, but I still do eat it. You know what I mean? I had a burger earlier, and it worked for me. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for coming along, guys. Have a nice life.